Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than normal because I'm going to take you behind the scenes of my recent 3-day live interactive workshop, Build Your Child's Personalized Learning Plan. During this workshop, I worked with families step by step, creating an educational plan based on their child, their strengths, their interests, their learning style, areas for growth, and the family's unique goals and rhythm. So I wanted to share a little piece of what that was like with you today. But here's what I want you to think about as you're listening. Before you choose curriculum, before you create the perfect schedule, and before you start worrying about the things your child should be doing, who are you raising? What outcome do you want for your child and your family? Because that is what I believe our educational plan should begin with and should look like. So I am sharing a little snapshot of day one with you. And if you're listening and thinking, Christine, I need the rest of this, stay until the end because I'll tell you how you can get access to the complete workshop and your next steps. All right, guys, let's dive in. So let's talk about what your vision is, okay? Before we choose the books, the curriculum, the activities, we're going to take a moment and think about the bigger picture. And we are going to just kind of say, what is it that we really want? Like if I could choose anything for my family, what would it be? Would it be that every day is, we're sitting down at a certain time and we are working through these specific skills and subjects, and then we have lunch, and then we are able to get outside? Like, what does that day look like for you? If you guys have any things that you want to put in, what would you like your day to look like? And it could just be a few words here and there of a few things that you would like to see added into your days. You guys can put those in the comments, or if you're watching the replay, you guys can write them down and then let me know them. But think about how else are our kids learning, right? Because I believe that we're learning all the time. We're not just learning when we sit down and we do a worksheet or when we're doing our book work, right? And Key just said flexible but structured, full but not overwhelming. I love that. I love that so much. And I totally agree with that. I have a saying, and I don't know if you guys had heard it, but I had someone tell me that I'm particularly flexible. And they're like, that's kind of like, the opposites, right? And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, but when I was teaching in life skills, I had to have a plan and I had to have a schedule. But when those children came in my door, I didn't know what the day was going to look like. Did they have a good morning? Did they have a good bus ride? Did they have a good night's sleep the night before? I didn't know any of that. So again, that leads into, we never know what someone's going through, right? And I just had to pivot my day to meet their needs. Whether that was an extra hug, whether that was an extra snack, whether they needed to rest and lay down, or whether they were ready to get moving and jump around and learn, as they were standing up and jumping all around. I had to pivot because every day is going to be different. We have to have a plan, because if we don't have a plan, that's hard. We can't just kind of grab at the straws. And I know I've done that. I am very much one, I can fly by the seat of my pants, but it only goes so far. I always say, give me a room full of kids and I can teach them. I can teach them anything and we can come up with activities and I can entertain them and educate them in fun ways. But we do need a plan. We need to know, what is the long-term plan? What are we going to be learning about this year? And being able to kind of map that out. What books do we need? What field trips are we going to take? What experiences are we going to do? So I love that so much, Keisha. And all of those things that I'm talking about, that's education for our kids. Getting outside and, I know Christine has a big home, actually both do. Christine and Keisha both have big gardens. Getting the kids outside in the garden and being able to see from the seed what they're able to sow later on is such a rewarding lesson. For them to understand that process, for them to be able to go on a nature hike and see a variety of flowers and plants and bugs and trees and really learning about life around them. And yes, of course, we need to focus on our math skills and our reading skills and all of those fundamental skills, writing, everything. But how are we incorporating that into our day? Are we planning breaks throughout the day so then that way everyone is standing up, getting up, moving around, and we're not getting frustrated? So those are some things that I think about when I think about education, and I think about how it's not always about sitting at a desk and completing a lesson. It's how we are preparing our kids for life, how we are setting them up for success on a path that matters the most, and making sure that they are independent, making sure that they are able to take care of themselves and understand this life. So step one, let's look at this one. And it says, when your child is grown, what do you hope people say about them? And there's all kind of choices there. Some of them: kind, independent, confident, curious, compassionate, responsible, creative, hardworking, honest, respectful, a lifelong learner, or other. So if you guys have any of those that popped out to you and was like, yes, I would want my child to be that, let me know in the comments. But you guys can mark these down. And like I said, you can print this off multiple times for each of your kids. Or you could just kind of write beside it, like, what do you want for your kids? And then there's a space for other. So what else is there that you would want them to know? And what would you want them, or what would you want people to say about them when they are grown? And it's not even necessarily other people, right? It's about us. What do we want for our kids? What is the goal that we want for our kids? Well, I want them to be kind and independent. I want them to be responsible and be able to take care of others. Oh, resilience. That's a really good one. That one definitely needs to be added on here for sure. That's a great one. Because these are how are we shaping them right now so that way they have these characteristics, these values. Those things are all very important. All right, so on the next page then, we are going to, you guys can write down your family vision. Just give me 1 second. So here it says our family vision, and you guys can go through and you can collectively, this is going to be part of your fun work. You can collectively as a family or just by yourself say, what is our family vision? What do we want this life to look like? And maybe it doesn't have to be forever. Maybe it's just this season. What do we want this season to look like? This year, this homeschool year? Because we can come back to this time and time again and be able to revisit this and say, yeah, you know what? This is still on point for us. Or you know what? We need to pivot a little bit and we need to add this in. Or you know what? That's not as important to us anymore, but this is. I know in our family over the past 6 years, things have definitely become more important than they were before. That's for sure. Eyes have been open, and yeah, things that I thought that I wanted before 2020 are different. And that's okay, because we continuously are learning and growing, and this world is ever changing, and we have to stay grounded in our faith and know what is it that keeps us grounded? What are the values that we want for our kids? And we need to block out all of those distractions, all of the extra stuff, and make sure that we're staying focused within our family. So you guys can fill that out. And then think about, again, what matters most for you and your family. What is important when it comes to education? So the next page is teaching moments here. And it says every moment is a teaching moment. And I truly believe that. I believe that learning just doesn't happen during the lessons. It happens during life. It happens while you're in the kitchen and you're cutting vegetables for dinner together. It happens while you're in the car ride, on your way to church, or on your way to activities. Have those conversations with your kids. I know that when my kids were little, I had them in the car seat and we would play games. And it was like a guessing game of, what fruit am I thinking about? Well, is it blue? Yes. Is it a blueberry? Yes. And it's kind of like that 20 questions, but it was so much fun for them, and they love that. And then there were other times that we would just practice saying our name and spelling it, and our address and my phone number, and just the important information that they needed to learn. I did it while we were in the car. So sometimes thinking, how can we take this lesson that they're struggling with right now, and how can I turn it into something that is more fun for them? How can I change up the environment? Because sometimes that's what it's about, just changing up the environment. Yesterday actually, we went to the park in between theater and piano. And I said, you know what, guys? I said, this would be the perfect opportunity for us to do science lessons every Tuesday. Come to the park and just do a different science lesson, or any kind of lesson, right? But it's changing up our environment, and it makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit more exciting. Now, I have to plan and make sure I have everything with me so I can actually execute those science lessons. But that is how you can just kind of tweak things just a little bit and say, you know what, it doesn't always have to be sitting down or at the table or, in this specific room, or it can be anywhere. So on here, it says it happens while we're cooking dinner, reading together, grocery shopping, traveling, caring for pets, playing games, serving others, and having meaningful conversations. So I'll just share this with you. You guys have kids that are old enough that can do this. The older kiddos can do this. I want to read this comment here real quick. Christine says, we do park school once a week. I love that. That's so fun. And it does change up just everyone's environment. I know for me, sometimes I've got to get out of this room and I need to just go outside and work on the back porch with my laptop, and I can be even more accomplished. So that's for our kids too. Where do they learn best? Maybe it's in their bedroom. Maybe it's on the living room floor. Maybe it's at the kitchen table. And that may change throughout the day too, or throughout the weeks, I should say, right? Because I know that sometimes I would do lessons in here and I would think that they're all going to do their independent work in here. And they ask, hey, can I go to my room and work? And I was very hesitant to say yes to that because I was like, I don't know. Are you actually going to get your work done? Or are you going to get distracted with things that you're doing? And you know what that started to do? It started to help them be responsible and have the independence to get that work done. And even if they did have a distraction, oh, you know what, Mom, I'm sorry, I was playing. Okay. But now you have to come back in here and you have to finish your work because you couldn't be in there and do your work. So now we have to come back in here and maybe we can try it again another day. So some things like that, just changing it up. But I did find that they both now, they like to go to their rooms and either sit on their bed or sit at their desk and work on their independent work. And that's okay, or sometimes I'll find them downstairs at the kitchen table or on the couch. So trying to figure out, where do they learn best? And then this little tip, while I'm thinking about it, while I see grocery shopping here, 1 second, let me grab water. Yesterday we went to the grocery store and we had a challenge. Let's keep our budget to $200, which, guys, that's hard now. Holy cow, everything is so expensive, right? So, but they were so into this and they were loving it. Me, I'm the one that's like, let's blow the budget, right? But they're like, Mom, we have a budget and we've got to stay on budget. And I was like, okay. So as they were doing it, they were calculating everything that they were buying. And then they were doing math when it came to buying the apples. Well, if each pound is $2.49, how many pounds did we get? So they had to weigh it. And then they had to calculate how much would those apples cost based on the weight. So that might be something that you guys can start incorporating with the older kiddos. I know with the younger kiddos, it might not be quite kind of where they're at, but you could probably give them a task too as well. I know this trip to the grocery store, I think we were all mentally prepared. And I think that's sometimes part of it too. We have to be in the right mindset to be able to do different activities like that. And without kind of going off on a whole tangent here, we as moms also have to be paying attention to our emotional level as well, our cycles as well, to say, do I have the energy and the capacity to do this? And yes, we can't just stop life for that. I know that, but maybe giving a little bit of grace during times when it's like, you know what, I am low energy, so we don't have a lot on the schedule today. What if we just read some books on the couch? Or what if we put a documentary on and we talked about it after that? So just kind of pivoting a little bit too, and being able to meet our needs as well as our kids' needs. All right, so then the next one says, ask yourself, it says, how can I intentionally create more meaningful learning experiences in our everyday life? So what are some things like Park School that we can do to create these experiences? Can we go to the grocery store and do budgeting? Can we cook with our kids and have a conversation and ask them maybe deeper level questions and be able to say, hey, about friendship, about whatever it is, any kind of opportunity, because while we are just sitting there doing something together, it's a perfect opportunity to have those conversations with our kids and allow them to open up and know that we are their safe space. We want them to come to us before anyone else. I know that I want my kids to come to us. So if that's you guys, let me know, because that's what I want for my kids. I don't want them asking their friends. I don't want them going to anyone else, maybe dad, right? But to us in our family, knowing that their home is a safe space for them to come and ask any question without judgment, and know that we are going to give them solid advice and insight. So that's part of your fun work there. How can I intentionally create more meaningful learning experiences in our everyday life?
And that, my friend, is just a small snapshot of day one of the Build Your Child's Personalized Learning Plan workshop. So today we walk through the bigger picture, thinking about what we want for our children. What do we really want for them? And what do we want their educational experience to look and feel like? So before we choose the curriculum, before we create the schedule, and before we start checking all of those academic boxes, those are the questions we want to ask ourselves. Because when we're clear on the bigger picture,
it becomes so much easier to make those educational decisions and set up that plan that is actually aligned with our child and our family. And guess what, friends? We're not stopping there. We are going to dive in to days 2 and days 3 over the next 2 weeks. So the next 2 episodes, I'm going to take you back into the workshop and give you a little snapshot from days 2 and then day 3. And we're just going to continue to build on what we started here. We started talking about understanding your child and creating a learning experience that fits them, bringing all of those pieces together into a plan that works for your family. Okay, but remember, this is just a snapshot, just a little peek into the workshop, into all of the teaching that I did with the families that were live with us. So if you are looking for that opportunity to say, I want to go further, I want to go deeper, I want to work through the exercises and identify my child's strengths and learning styles and interest, and thinking about how can we set up this plan for your family with intentional goals and with everyone's learning style in mind. We're going to put all of those together in this personalized learning plan. So if you are like, listen, I would like more of this. I don't want just the highlights. I want the whole workshop. I want the workbook, and I want to follow up with you, Christine. All right. So here is a way to do that. I would love for you to click the link in the show notes below. You can click that and you can get more information. You can join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group, and you can get in there and you can tell me that you want more information about the Build Your Child's Personalized Learning Plan workshop. You can also send me a DM the word plan to any way that you can get in contact with me. You can email it to me. You could send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and all of those links are going to be in the show notes below, because I want to get connected with you. I want to help you create the plan that is best fit for your child and your family. So child first, or children, right? And then overall for your family. So stay tuned and subscribe to the Home Education with Ease podcast, because over the next 2 weeks, we're going to head back into the workshop and I'm going to share a little bit more with you. But until then, remember, friends, see each moment as a chance to learn, create, and have fun. Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore our programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.